I'd like to call the September 16th meeting of the Person Board of County Commissioners to order at this time and recognize that we do have a quorum. And I will lead us in an invocation, after which Commissioner Palmer will lead our Pledge of Allegiance. So if you so desire, pray with me, please. Merciful God, we come before you this morning with grateful hearts for the opportunity of being in this location for the purposes which we are assigned. Pray for your guidance as we go through this meeting, that our decisions will be within and by your will and in your way. We pray for our military, our public safety officials, our EMS, our sheriff, our law enforcement all over. In these trying times that we're in, we know that these things are beyond our control, but pray for your guidance, your blessings, and gifts of life today. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
We will now do the Pledge of Allegiance. Those who wish, please join us. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda is discussion, adjustment, approval of the agenda as presented. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda as presented. Chairman Powell.
Have a motion on the floor for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. Item number 1 on the agenda is a public hearing, consideration of approval to submit fiscal year 26 community transportation program application. Do we have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion on the floor. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. And Mr. Flagg, you're up. First thing.
Chairman Powell, Commissioners, good morning. I'm happy to appear before you representing the Transportation Department of Person County, better known as PATS. Our full-time and part-time staff eagerly serve the county each and every day. In FY24, we accommodated over 59,000 trips and drove over 429,000 miles with our 14 vans and buses. Our mission is to provide safe, friendly, and reliable transportation to the citizens of Person County, utilizing the most efficient manner possible to increase mobility and support a livable community. Today I bring before the board for approval the FY26 Community Transportation Program application. The Community Transportation Program grants are divided into 2 categories. The administrative project consists of $208,260, of which the 15% local match requirement would be $31,239, and the capital grant to be used for purchase of 3 replacement vehicles for a total of $353,000, of which a 10% local match of $35,300 would be required. That makes the total for both of them $561,260, of which the total local share for the county would be $66,539. Our Transportation Advisory Board met September 4th and recommended the submittal of the application for these funds. The recommendation is for your approval for the grant submittal and the use of the local funds noted. Are there any questions I can answer this morning?
Board members, questions?
We did this similar last year.
It is similar. It's actually the same dollar amount on the admin, and we're just this year's a little bit less on capital because we're not requesting the excessive money we requested last year, which was for the security system, the camera system.
And all buses have the camera system?
All buses have the camera system in them.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the request as presented, say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carried. We need to do the public comment section though, don't we, Madam Clerk? I'm
Yes,
sorry.
sir. There are no individuals signed up to speak for this public hearing.
Thanks for saving me. Okay, so there aren't any in favor or in opposition. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Now, do I need to redo that?
If you could do the motion again,
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman.
okay. Okay, forgive my error there, but do we have a motion for approval of the request by Mr. Flagg?
So moved.
Okay, motion on the floor, no other discussion. We're hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carried, thank you. Appreciate the job you do with pets and the service you render to our county citizens. Item number 2 on the agenda is consideration or deny the approval to submit fiscal year community transportation program application. We need a motion to grant the approval to submit the request as presented. We have that motion.
We just voted on that.
Yes, we did, but
We're good.
procedurally, you okay?
As long as there's nothing else that we need, is that correct?
Okay.
Madam County Manager?
Right, yes, that, you've already approved
So
item.
we're okay then, all right.
Okay, then we're good.
Sorry for the confusion, we're okay. Same at the end of the day. At this time, on our agenda, we do have time period set aside for public comment. And we, again, set aside 10 minutes. Madam Clerk, do we have speakers signed up to speak?
Yes, sir. We do have 2 individuals.
Okay, and so 5 minutes,
Okay.
if you
I
like,
can-
if you need that much.
Yes, sir. If I can please instruct IT to set the timer for 5 minutes for the first speaker. First speaker is Andrea Childers.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Andrea Childers. As of Thanksgiving Day, I will have lived in Person County 32 years. First, in case I run out of time today, I have another article to give you. It is written by Lisa Sorg for Inside Climate News. As the planet warms, activists in North Carolina mobilized to stop the gathering storm. If you have time, it's about 32 minutes that you can go to their website and listen to. She does a really good job reading that, so I'm going to pass that out the end of my time, but I just wanted to let you know that I do have that article. So in case you were not aware, last week North Carolina Utilities Commission has approved the sale of Dominion Energy, North Carolina LNG subsidiary, to the Canadian company Enbridge. From this point forward, we will now have to deal with international courts should Enbridge violate regulations in our county. Now that a recidivist offender has set up shop in Person County, it's your residents, your constituents, deserve protection from this corporation. Enbridge Limited Partnership oil spill 2016, $177,400,000 in penalties. Enbridge oil spill 2016, $75 million penalty. Enbridge Energy LP environmental violation 2017, $62 million. Enbridge Energy environmental violation 2022, $11 million. Enbridge Energy environmental violation 2020, $6,772,150. Enbridge Energy Limited Partnership pipeline safety violation 2012, $3,699,200. Enbridge Energy Partnership pipeline safety violation 2010, $2,400,000. Enbridge Energy Limited Partnership environmental violation 2009, $1,100,000. Enbridge Energy Limited Partnership, air pollution violation, 2010, $1 million. Texas Eastern Transmission LP, pipeline safety violation, $640,300. Enbridge Marketing USA LP, energy market violation, $500,000. Alberta Clipper, Southern LIG environmental violations, 2013, $425,000. Algonquin, sorry, that's a hard one to say for me. Gas Transmissions LLC, energy market violation, $400,000. CCPS Transportation LLC, pipeline safety violation, $282,900. Texas Eastern Transmission, pipeline safety violation, 2017, $239,200. Texas Eastern Transmission LP, pipeline safety violation, 2024, $225,134. Vector Pipeline LP, safety violations, 2022, $218,647. Texas Eastern Transmission LP, Spectra Energy Corp, pipeline safety violation, $134,500. Duke Energy Field Service LP, environmental violation, $120,120. Enbridge Energy Limited Partnership, pipeline safety violation, $112,500. Duke Energy Field Service LP, environmental violations, $110,304. North Dakota Pipeline Company LLC, pipeline safety violation, $105,000. Back to Algonquin, Gas Transmission LLC, environmental violation, $96,073. In case, I know, I'm done. Please require air monitors on both ends of our counties. Residents of our county need to know that the air they are breathing is clean.
Thank you. And next one,
Next speaker we have is Jimmy Bowes.
Thank you, Andrew.
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Have a good day.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning,
I
sir.
would especially like to talk to Gordon and to Kyle and thank them for their service as long as they've been helping this county. Sorry to see both of you leave, but I realize the things that happen through life and that's the way things go. I'm here to address the closing of Country Club Road. I left my house this morning. There's 200 damn dump trucks by my house every day. And once I get to Country Club, it all goes away. But I urge you, do not close that section of the road. It's been there ever since I was a baby. I built my house there. As Brandy says, you have different ways to go. Well, I'm setting my damn ways and I want to go straight to town. It takes me 2.5 miles further to go around by Trouble Lake to come to City of Roxbury. I understand by Mr. Fox down at the end of the road that he was told that they would close the road off and then put in gates for the people that's coming in Country Club to go to their work schedule. I don't know. Brandy says she doesn't know anything about that, but that's beside the point. The thing is that the road is a North Carolina State road. It's been open. The other thing is, I have not seen any traffic counters on that road at all. That's one of the first things you got to do about closing the road. So, I beseech you not to close this road, and we will have. I didn't know we could speak today, but I will have a contingency of folks at the meeting on the 24th to address this issue. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes our informal comment period.
Okay, thank you very much. And item number 3 on our agenda is discussion, adjustment, and approval of the consent agenda as presented. Do we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. Item number 4 on the agenda is summary presentation of Person County Unified Development Ordinance, or what we term UDO. Mr. Chris Foley. Good morning, sir.
How are y'all? Well, after a long road of working on this document, I'm really excited to bring it to you today. It's been in the public for a year. It's been at various locations through the county at public buildings. And it's also been with your planning board for the past year and intense review. Borrow this. Okay, this is just a summary overview of the document to help guide through the read of a 300-page plus document. General intent of the UDO is to bring land use ordinances together into one document that is more user-friendly and understandable, to make the permitting process more predictable, efficient, and easier to issue permits, and bring land use regulations into compliance with state and federal laws for uses to be legally permissible and physically feasible to develop on a property, to protect existing development rights, and to encourage economic investment into Person County. So in 2022, Benchmark was contracted to create the UDO. This implements the 2021 adopted comp plan that had recommendations and guiding principles that led to the creation of a UDO. It updates and amends the Person County land development regulations to be compliant with current state and federal laws, and it consolidates 10 ordinances into one unified document. And those 10 ordinances are listed in the current document that you have approved. The 10 ordinances are listed to the right there for the audience. It's the planning ordinance, the subdivision regulations, minimum construction standards for private roads, falls watershed stormwater ordinance for new development, limit height of objects around Person County Airport, mobile home park ordinance, ordinance regulating sexually oriented businesses, ordinance regulating automobile graveyards and junkyards, solar energy system ordinance, and the flood damage prevention ordinance. And as they were adopted, some were commingled into the planning ordinance, so there's 8 physically, but there's 10 in total. So Benchmark provided the attached summary memorandum, which is in your packages, Exhibit B, and they established a steering committee which included members of the Board of Commissioners, the Planning Board, the Economic Development Commission, citizens, and representatives from the development community to put input directly to Benchmark. The Planning Board and the County Attorney's Office reviewed the UDO, and their comments were added. Public participation has been available, as mentioned, in various locations and on the website. Upon UDO adoption, the final draft will be accessible on the Planning Department's website and remain up there for public use at all times. It's recommended to amend it every 5 years for updates to the general statutes, development patterns, and economic development goals. So this goes chapter by chapter through each article. There's 6 articles with appendices. Article 1 is the purpose and authority, which establishes the preambles of the document, the purpose of the UDO, and establishing legal authority of the document to use it. Establishes the official zoning map as a graphic tool for the ordinance and maintenance of it, which is a requirement by the state. Application of the document, validity of regulations, and separability of the UDO over former regulations and repealing. UDO's conformity with the comp plan, rights-of-way dedication provisions, vested rights, development approvals, and development agreements. Repeal, adoption, and effective date of the UDO, and the aforementioned listed currently adopted ordinances which would be repealed, replaced, and consolidated by this adoption. Article 1 has a purpose and authority. The UDO does not amend the official zoning map, change the zoning on a piece of property, or alter its rights, development rights, existing development rights. The UDO doesn't amend the comprehensive plan or the future land use map. The ordinance language for the Falls Lake watershed, flood damage prevention, solar energy systems, airport height limitations, and adult entertainment is kept intact, with some recommendations from the planning board for clarification to make it easier to read. Article 2 is the administration and code enforcement. Defines our role as staff, allows for a technical review committee when applicable, especially for large-scale projects, which is a collection members of representatives from different departments reviewing it only on a technical basis. Defines boards and their roles in the development review process and provides for code enforcement procedures to keep them fair. Article 3 is a review and approval procedures. Defines approval types, administrative, quasi-judicial, and legislative, as defined by the state of North Carolina. Provides zoning permit and appeal procedures. Provides for new development procedures, development review procedures for land use types with criteria for residential and non-residential land uses. And it lists the county's subdivision regulations. Provides templates meeting North Carolina General Statutes 47-30 for platting and subdivision. Provides flow charts with steps to follow. Addresses preliminary plats, final plats, construction plans, bonding, and improvement installation processes. And includes quasi-judicial and appeal procedures. Article 4 is the county's zoning ordinance. It defines our zoning districts, our conditional districts, and our overlay districts. It defines what non-conforming uses are, defines watershed protection and overlay district standards, and includes supplemental regulations such as for bona fide farms, accessory structures, accessory dwelling units, campgrounds and RV parks, home occupations, manufactured homes, manufactured home parks, non-residential uses, short-term rental units, adult-oriented businesses, itinerant merchants, yard sales, industrial uses, commercial salvage yards, solar energy systems, battery energy storage systems, and telecommunication facilities, etc. Article 5 is your site development standard chapter. Provides for site design standards and graphics as examples. Defines lot types, dimensions, density, and intensity criteria. Includes lotting pattern types, cluster developments, and conservation areas. Lists environmental and open space standards as well as watershed overlay protection standards. Includes floodplain protection standards that have been previously approved by FEMA in your current ordinance. Includes landscaping, screening standards, and buffer yards. Provides parking ratios, parking lot design, access management standards, roadway design standards, easement standards, utilities, fire protection, site lighting standards, and solid waste collection standards. Addresses legal nonconformities in nonconforming lots and nonconforming uses / structures. Nonconforming signs are included in the sign standards. And then Article 6 are your sign standards. So this also known as the county signage ordinance or sign code. Defines signage terms and graphically represents them for user friendliness for the applicant. Distinguishes between permanent and temporary signs. Addresses sign permitting, sign maintenance, discontinued signs, and legally non-conforming signs. Includes off-premise directional signs and their temporary nature. And addresses a planning board recommendation to exclude billboards unless expressly permitted through other agencies defined by the general statutes. And what is meant by that is you can't exclude them, but if they're allowed by DOT and they go to DOT first, then it would overarch our code. Appendices, Appendix A is the permitted use table, vetted thoroughly by our planning board. And we moved that out of the document, out of the articles, so that it could be updated and amended over time, easier than amending the entire ordinance. Appendix B are the definitions, which are quite sizable, because they were extracted from the 10 existing ordinances, as well as additions added through review from the planning board. And we made sure that we matched every use listed on the permitted use table with a definition, which makes it easier to define and more predictable to apply to the county. Appendix C is a recommended plant list, and we use that word recommended on purpose. It's not required, but it's just if somebody wanted to know what type of species to plant in certain locations, they could. So you have the benchmark original summary memo, and then the document went off to the planning board, which then there were various more changes. So this is sort of a guide to walk you through what the 10 ordinances are and where they might be in the new document. The planning ordinance is throughout various articles. Subdivision ordinance is in Articles 3 and 5. The minimum construction standards for private roads is in Article 5, site development standards. The Falls watershed stormwater ordinance for new development is in Articles 4 and 5. Limit height of objects around Person County Airport is in Article 4, zoning district and uses. The mobile home park ordinance is in Article 4. Ordinance regulating sexually oriented businesses is in Article 4, and that nomenclature was changed, by the way, to adult oriented instead of sexually oriented. Ordinance regulating automobile graveyards and junkyards is also in Article 4. Solar energy system ordinance is also in Article 4. And note that that was kept intact through the review because it had been vetted so much prior to this process being started with the UDO. Only one word of change, greater than, less than, just for clarification for the reader. And level 1 systems that are roof mounted are not going through the zone, don't need a zoning permit. Because if you're looking down on a piece of property and there's a building there and you're putting the panel on top of the roof, we don't need to see dimensionally how it's going to affect, you know, the horizontal spacing. It could go right to inspections for their permit. But the ground mounted level 1 systems still need to come through the planning department. So it wouldn't change if you're putting it on top of a roof. It's not going to change the horizontal control. Flood damage prevention ordinance is in Article 5, site development standards. So with that, I'll just open it up to questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Board members?
Chris, I just want, I was on that board earlier, and then, you know, we had the ordinance ready, kind of ready, and then we had public comments, and then we went back to the drawing board and started, and you broke it down into sections for each one of the zoning and planning meetings that you had on that. So I want to thank everyone who was on that board and for their input with this. I think the one thing that is concern to people that I've talked with was the short-term rentals.
Right.
And I'm sure we'll need to look at that a little more thoroughly with that. I know I had some concerns with that, some questions on that for later. But all in all, I think you've done a good job. This is a very important document for our county. It's what we're going to you know, base the regulations on ordinance. We have people who violate them or whatever, or have questions about them. We have a good document here to explain it, and then we can enforce it. And I think the most important thing, as I look at this and as we put ordinances in place, is enforcement and being able to, I mean, we just can't let people do whatever they want to do on their property that is endangering other people, or it could be a pollution issue, or it's just not within our ordinance. So I think it's very important, and I thank you for that. Thank you for presenting today.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody? Anybody else? Well, from my perspective in attending some of the meetings, I definitely want to thank the members of that board and you as well for being persistent and not just stopping. You guys did address each of those items and articles section by section, almost sometimes word for word. And so your persistence there and endurance is much appreciated. It was difficult. And from the very beginning, there was no pressure from this board, as you're well aware, to get this
Right.
done, just simply try to get it done right. And even though you mentioned earlier you would do a 5-year review, doesn't mean that we can't come back before then, because invariably you will need to. Some things will come out of this that you never thought of. So the door would be open there for changes that would benefit the procedure here document-wide. Would you address just a little bit about DEQ, their involvement in this policy and how that works going forward?
About which standard?
Well, I think you were in maybe standard 2. I saw some references to DEQ, things that you would run into or the county would related to their standards or state standards. Anything there like the environment?
Right.
Again, that.
Yeah, we took a review of the existing general statutes and made sure that the regulations that are in the new document comport to the process with DEQ to the greatest degree possible. So that, there is that ability. We have limitations at the county environmentally because we don't have an environmental agency. So we lean heavily on other agencies that are environmentally oriented, such as DEQ, DWR, et cetera, UNRBA. And this new document addresses that and follows lockstep with the communication and the coordination
Good.
for the permitting and plan review.
We want to do it right, and we want to do the right thing.
Yes, sir.
Among some of the things that have been mentioned, I think code enforcement is a concern.
It is, yes, sir.
And I don't know how we'll actually do that because, and I'm referencing what Commissioner Sims mentioned about short-term rentals.
Mm-hmm.
Most of those being in the lake area.
Right.
And so I know that's been talked about quite a bit, but
It has.
how would that actually work? Is that complaint driven or?
Mostly. Yes, sir. I mean, it's really isolated to the residential zoning district because the way the current permitted use table reads, you have to have a special use permit for it. And those special uses have been issued for any existing short-term rental property. So we're trying to correct that with a new document and to make sure in the rural conservation zoning district, you can have them permitted by right. And there are some in the RC zoning district. And then if you're right next door in the residential, and you could be right next door, you have to come in and get a special use permit. So it just is a consistency issue more than anything from a zoning standpoint. But as far as the code enforcement side, we do get calls and emails about neighbors that are in existing subdivisions that now have short-term rental uses, and it's, the operation late into the night, or in some cases blocking driveways with parking on street, or trash that's left out that's excessive and visible. So these 10 standards that are in here for short-term rental are designed to be towards that. They're probably not gonna be the end-all be-all, but at least you're trying to strike the balance between the ones that do not want them at all in their neighborhood and the ones that are okay with them in their neighborhood or even own them and want to use them. So these 10 standards are towards that, to make sure that at least there's some standards in place for their operation.
Well, that's all we can do is work toward that. Another, for maybe clarity going forward here with the others, clarify the terminology in there related to residential junkyards.
Okay, so as you know, because we've talked about this before.
We have.
Yeah, and code enforcement. So, I would say that the great majority of landowners in Person County are very right, responsible folks that own and take care of their property very well, and they want their neighbors to do the same. But there are few that, have a piece of property and just start bringing things onto it. And some of them even go so far as to say that I'm a residential junkyard, because in our current junkyard ordinance, it allows for that terminology.
So that still remains.
That has been removed.
Okay, good.
So actually, it's very limited now going forward, that especially for code enforcement purposes, there's a terminology, commercial salvage yard, and that's matching to the greatest degree possible with the general statutes, that you're allowed not to have residential junkyards, but in a specific zoning district. Let me go to the permitted use table, because it says it best there. Bear with me a minute, please. Commercial salvage yard, right now, it's been taken out of the ability to have residential junkyards and put in the general industrial zoning district as a special use permit only. So that should limit the number of pilferation of property where people just bring in inoperable vehicles on the property. At least you'll know where they are. They'll have come to you before, and you'll know what their intended use of the property is. And that change from permitted use to special use was with the planning board. They felt there needed to be some additional review and control over that. So they changed it from a P to an S in the
Very
zoning
good.
district.
Very good. Thank you again. Any other comments, questions?
So there were 2 dissenting votes on the planning board. What were the reasons for the dissenting votes?
No reason given, just a no. So no reason provided why from the 2 members that voted against it. And one of the 2 at least provided the most comments in review. So you can only put it in front of them and respond to their comments and change it, and which we did. And then they voted no as well. So.
Very lengthy and very comprehensive, and I can see where there may be some differences of opinion, but anyway, it did pass. If no other questions, no action needed by the board, so.
Right, just historically, I'll take this version and I'll get it set up for the October 7th agenda to vote for adoption. I'll have the agenda package ready for Ms. Solomon,
Yes, sir.
probably tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
And
Thank
thank
you.
you all for
Thank
everything.
you.
I do appreciate it, and thank you for the county attorney and the county manager, and they've been outstanding to work for and for you for this process, so thank
Will
you.
you actually be there that October 7th meeting?
I will not, I'll actually be out of town that night, so.
Just coincidentally.
I wanted to be. I wanted to come back and do this
Well, no, I'm
and bring
just,
closure to it.
I'm just
so.
kidding you. We've
Yeah.
had a good relationship. Appreciate what you're doing.
Thank y'all.
I regret that you are leaving us, but opportunities arise, and that's part of life. But thank you again.
Well, I'm humbled to have worked for you, so thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Chris, appreciate it.
Wish you
Thank
the best.
Item number 5 on the agenda is Animal Services Ordinance Amendment. Ms. Lewis?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Myself and Animal Advisory Committee met last month to make recommended changes to the Animal Service Ordinance to reflect the title change from Animal Services Officer to Deputy Animal Control, and also to add in the Person County Sheriff's Office. I think that's in your package. Do you have any questions about it?
I have none.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. There were no questions. You did have the information in your packet. Do we have a motion to approve the animal services
So moved.
ordinance as amended? Have a motion on the floor. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. Item number 6 on the agenda is resolution authorizing filing of application for approval of a financing agreement authorized by NC General Statute 160A-20, being presented by Manager Kathy.
Good morning, Commissioners. Before you is a recommended action to approve the resolution referenced by Chairman Powell. This is to authorize the filing of the application to the Local Government Commission for their consideration and approval of the contract for the ALS 360 program. At your last meeting, you did support staff's filing of that application with the LGC so that we could be scheduled for the October 1st meeting. And this does formalize the board's approval of the filing of that application. So we would send this resolution to the LGC along with an opinion letter from the county attorney as soon as it is signed following your consideration and approval today. The other part of the item was for Chairman Powell and Commissioner Sims to follow up with the fire chiefs to confirm their understanding that this is for a 10-year program with Stryker for this equipment and ongoing annual maintenance for the equipment that we will be receiving. So I understand that they have had those follow-up conversations.
I did. I called, I think, over half of the fire departments and talked to the fire chiefs, and I know that Gordon called about 4 prior to that. And there was a couple who were not for the program, and I'm not going to discuss who they are or what have you, but we did have, it wasn't a unanimous decision with this. In discussing this with them, you know, it was, everyone that I talked with was concerned about the cost and that it was a lot of money. However, just as I feel as a county commissioner, and they feel it too, that if you were to deny this, what does that say to the public? What does that say that we are, that we're not concerned about our citizens, the safety, the health, saving lives, if it's a situation where you have cardiac arrest, and all of them had that same concern. They were for it, but again, they understood, you know, that it's going to help the fire departments. It's going to help the first responders. The other thing to it is that not everyone, when they first get there, are going to have the device. So they will certainly be doing CPR on that individual, chest compressions, until that device gets here. That device is not going to fit every person. If it's a person is really small, it's not going to work with them. And if that device is, if the person is really big, that device is not going to work either. But it is, as the discussions we had, it is a benefit to have it. And the other thing is also with the AEDs. It was, you know, everyone's having, you know, got the same AEDs when they're all purchased. So through the fire departments that I talked with, I mean, they were for this. And I hope that you always hope you never have to use this because that's a bad situation. But you also hope that if we do, that equipment is here and it can be used and hopefully will save a life. As one of the fire departments told me, they said, you know, how much value do you put on the life? And so that's very, very important to think about. So that's my comments that I had with them. And Gordon?
Yeah, some of the others I spoke with as well, the sentiments there were pretty much what Commissioner Sims is saying here. And as I've said previously, public safety is a priority in Person County. We've always demonstrated that, and I think this is a step in that direction. Cost is a concern. It's a concern for us going forward because it is a long-term commitment at the same time. It's a long-term commitment to providing the right equipment for our emergency personnel to be able to serve the public that they're charged with. And that came out in my discussions with them. All that I spoke with were in agreement, concerned about the cost, but the cost versus public safety and a life, you can't put a value on. So again, there was no resentment at all from those that I spoke with, and I think that's the same that I'm hearing from Commissioner Sims here, that we want to do, again, what's right, what's best for our county, and I think this going forward is going to provide county-wide equipment of the same type, same quality. It does provide the opportunity, just in case someone from one district happens to be in another district when the call comes, and they respond. They don't turn that away just because it's not in their district. We have that kind of volunteer personnel in the county as well as our paid staff. But again, the feedback that I had was positive and along the lines of being right and what is needed, and so again, they were all in agreement. Any
One
other?
of my questions, when I was looking over this, is the insurance that we have on this. Is that any extra cost to us at all with the equipment? I was looking at that, I didn't know in the contract. Can you let me know about that? Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head what impact that will be for us.
Okay. It doesn't, it just says we have to have insurance, and I'm just wondering if that's increased our.
There will be an increase because this does involve adding some equipment, and as we upgrade our equipment, that the equipment will be at a higher value. So we have, our insurance will fluctuate year to year depending upon what we have insured and what's depreciated versus what we've added to it. So that will be something that we'll work with our insurance carrier to address.
And if we look at the numbers, I think we had, how much was coming from the fire tax? I think I saw it on here, it was like.
It's a hundred
So
and,
5%, 0.05% from that fund, and then 0.7225 from our general fund. If I'm looking at the front page of, I call it 403, but it's where we talk about the appraised value, total levy, and that information. So that's
so
correct,
those were
right?
calculations that were done by Tracy, our interim CFO.
Okay.
And that was part of the submittal of the application to the LGC,
Okay,
so
that's
she
where
has
I'm-
confirmed
again, but that's
those
where that's,
calculations.
basically it's coming from. When you say the other funds, that is the fire tax fund, or what would you call that?
Yes, the fire and rescue tax fund, yes.
Is any of this equipment scheduled to be put on any PATS vehicles?
The AEDs, was mentioned that we would get AEDs, possibly.
Now,
And I haven't spoken to Mr. Schwallenberg in a long time about that.
does, to operate the AEDs, I'm assuming you have to be certified to operate, and if so, has any discussion been talked about regarding PATS personnel being certified to operate said equipment?
We are trained annually in AED, as a part of our annual training. Mr. Schwallenberg or someone from the department comes over annually during our annual training and goes over with the unit that's in our office. And it was mentioned that unit would not be the unit going forward, but we would receive training as a group.
Now, is that extra to what we're seeing here, or is that included in this, what we're approving today?
So, and just to get back to the initial question, operating an AED does not require certification, so anyone can grab an AED off a wall if someone is or out of a vehicle if someone is experiencing an emergency, and it does walk that person through the steps that are needed to be able to use that AED with that individual. It provides verbal instructions through the machine at the time the use is initiated. Of course, training is very helpful. So, as Mitch mentioned, PAT staff do receive training, and we do offer training for employees throughout the county, as well as training out in the community on the use of AEDs. As far as the number of AEDs that are proposed for the county in this particular proposal, I do not recall it specifically if PATS was included. We looked at a variety of different scenarios that gradually got bigger in terms of the number that were included in the proposal, and I do not remember exactly what is covered when it comes to county facilities and vehicles in the number in this proposal.
So before we approved this, but for the PATs, that will need to come back to us for approval?
If it's not included in the numbers, and I don't know, I have Heather and Sean are both here.
I mean, I think it's important information to know, so we know what, if it's included or it's gonna be extra money we need to come up with for this particular item.
Okay.
I get, and the other concern, I know attorneys here, I look at when people use the AEDs, especially if they're on pads, it's like, I call it the Good Samaritan law. And I think that would come into play with the PATS operator, so that we're not liable for anybody can be sued, but we wouldn't be liable for any kind of lawsuit, because even though we have the training, but if they do something wrong or what have you, we're not, they're this person's apparently unconscious and cardiac arrest, but I just want to make sure we're not opening ourselves up as a county for any liability.
And if I can address that, I mean, you're right, Mr. Sims, people can sue over anything, but as a general rule, the Good Samaritan law, you stated it well, which is that a person's expected to provide care to the level of training that they've received. So a citizen on the street, there's no duty of care. If you've done annual AED training and you do your best, and you show that you try to follow those steps correctly, I don't think you have liability. If you try and do open heart surgery, you've got a problem.
Absolutely.
But otherwise, you stated that correctly.
Okay, thank you.
Tracy's here and she has the list of what's covered.
So in this initial first round that we have, PATS is covered in there with the county office buildings. Currently, it's
Okay.
just the buildings, though, it's not the buses.
So it's just the building, not the buses. So we will need to approve that later for the buses.
Yes, that would need to be considered later, separately.
So that's one.
So it's just the buildings in this particular proposal. And I also just wanted to go back to your question about page 403, because I was not looking at that when you asked about, you referenced general fund and other funds.
Right.
So those are the current tax rates that are
Right.
listed there. Okay, and that was part of what we need to report to the LGC, and those are not changing as a result of this program. I mean, that's what you approved for this fiscal year,
Right.
and that's what's provided on the application to the LGC.
Okay.
And we can bring that back because the reason for this presentation and what we need to do through LGC is what we're addressing this morning. Any other comments, questions there? So we do need a motion to approve the resolution authorizing filing of an application to the LGC related to Stryker and the ALS 360 program for approval of a financing agreement authorized by NC General Statute 168-20. Do we have that motion?
So moved.
Have a motion.
Chairman Powell.
I'm sorry, yeah, okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carried. Item number 7 on the agenda is proposal to close a portion of State Road 1333, Country Club Road. Ms. Brandy Lynch. Brandy here?
Yes, she is. She's
Okay.
coming.
Morning.
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 Just give you 1 second. I didn't want to put this in front of everybody, so everybody can see.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm gonna let you take one and pass it around if you wanna. I got one for you and Kathy too.
I appreciate the opportunity to come before you today and give you some information on the proposed road closure of 3,800 feet of State Road 1333, also known as Country Club Road. The proposed road closure will not affect the intersection of Country Club Road and Edwin Robertson. There will be a straight path from Edwin Robertson to Highway 501. As you can see, the main thoroughfare between Edwin Robertson and Shiloh Church Road is still there, and it will always be there. That's the main route between Mayo and Hyco. The county began work on the Person County Mega Park almost a decade ago. Duke Energy evaluated the Person County Mega Park for a project known as Project Trace. You can learn more about Project Trace on the Person County EDC website. In the Mega Park presentation, what made this approximately 1,350 acres attractive? Power. The Person County Mega Park is unique in that it has multiple 230 kV lines going through it. The reason for the multiple 230 kV lines is that the Person County Mega Park is between two of Duke Energy's power plants and is affectionately known as Hyco and Mayo. Person County ultimately did not get Project Trace, but the seed was planted. The county started to look at the Person County Mega Park and what an opportunity it was for the county. The county began due diligence work and engineering work. The maps before you today show the site plan dated 2017. If you notice, the plan shows State Road 1333 closed. There we go. Duke also recognizes the uniqueness of this site, explained in the letter that John Nelms with Duke Energy included in your packet. Golden Leaf also paid for the water line brought to the site. This is a 12-inch water line with a capacity of up to 5 million gallons a day if needed. Other positives for the site are its location. The Person County Mega Park is miles from Highway 501, close to multiple colleges, and an hour away from an international airport. Person County Mega Park is one of only 6 in the state. It was boasted as a North Carolina certified site until January 2024. The Person County Mega Park lost its certification because the county needed to hold a minimum of a 2-year option on the site. I have told you some positives about the Person County Mega Park. Now I will tell you the negatives. Topography. There's a 100-degree drop from the center of Country Club Road to the bottom of the site. Also, as you know, approximately 1,350 acres are included in the Person County Mega Park. However, approximately 948 acres are usable, as you can see on the map. Anything in red is usable space. There are a serious number of wetlands on the site, and rail is another issue. There's a rail near the site that can be accessed, but the rail line to the site would have to be owned and maintained by the tenant. Norfolk and Southern Rail Line would need to be upgraded, that the tenant may have to pay for as well. Person County is also not home to an interstate. In 2022, Governor Cooper set aside funds to complete a North Carolina mega site readiness program. The reason for this program was to make large sites more shovel-ready. So many large projects were announced in North Carolina, which was wonderful, but it left North Carolina behind the 8 ball. The need for large sites wasn't slowing down. North Carolina needed to get more shovel-ready sites ready and identified. The Person County Mega Park was not selected. Why, you asked? Because of the parameters of the evaluation. The state wanted a contiguous site of 1,000 acres, and the Person County Mega Park is not. 3 different parcels identified with 2 roads going through. Next, there had to be 1 million available workers within a specific radius. Please note, the criteria used to evaluate the sites were not given until after the submissions. It is available online if you'd like to read more about the report in full detail. After the evaluation was completed and the sites were chosen, the county could speak with groups that performed the analysis to allow the county to hear feedback on the Person County Megapark. Person County learned our strengths, power, water, etc., and our weaknesses, some which are topography and no interstate. Two things the county couldn't do anything about. However, we continued working. It was reported in 2021 that the county had already invested over $2 million, not including staff time in the Person County Megapark. The significant financial commitment, along with the additional $50,000 plus spent on site surveys, countless hours of staff, underscores the county's dedication to the success of the Person County Megapark. The donut hole was also secured, furthermore demonstrating our substantial investment in the project. The U.S. Army Corps permit was obtained in 2020. It was obtained for 10 years, something that does not happen today. Getting the permit on the front end of the project would cut the usual time of 12 to 18 months to secure a permit down to 6. Speed to market is critical today. Any project that came to the Person County Megapark would have to submit its site plan. That would have to be modified. The county had to provide a site plan to the Corps, and the site plan you have seen from 2017, which included the road closure and the structure to be in the middle of Country Club Road. This is the map that shows Shallow Church, the 3 parcels of land, Country Club Road, Edwin Robertson Road. I would also like to take this opportunity to address road closure concerns. If the road is closed, will it affect the value of my property? In a letter received by Tax Administrator Russell Jones, which you all have a copy of today, it was stated that as long as the property retains road access, the value would not be affected. Please note that many of the areas in question are agricultural forestry tracts. Will a potential tenant in the Person County Megapark affect my property value? Changes in value as indicated by market sales of properties in the areas are evaluated during the reappraisal schedule. According to the county's reappraisal schedule, that will be in 2029. Can the project or any project change our property value? Many things affect property values without the knowledge of the industry that may be located on the Person County Megapark. Staff also worked to find examples of road closures and how they affected property values. Mr. Jones recalled Duke Hyco plant being built in the 60s and the number of roads closed. Take a look at some property values and what they look like now. Unfortunately, we only have numbers back to the 90s, but it gives you an idea. 1061 Shore Acres Road in 1993 had a value of $87,546. In 2016, it was $219,341. And finally, in 2024, it was $330,601. 141 Pintail Drive in 93 had a value of $148,498. In 2024, it's well worth over $500,000. 574 Wild Turkey Drive was built in 1989. In 1993, it had a value of $106,869. In 2024, it was worth $613,138. I cannot talk.
Will it affect school traffic? Well, as you'll see, I reached out, as well as other county staff, to Person County Schools and Bethel Hill Charter School. They both maintain that traffic of their buses are minimal affected. There's minimal effects and both can reroute buses with no issue. Both of those letters are in your packet as well. There are 1,350 acres. Why does the road have to be closed? I was going to answer this question myself, but I felt it better come from a professional firm with a broad reach. Per a letter received from Labella, one of the major permits needed for the project that goes on the Person County Megapark is the Army Corps 404 permit. The letter from Labella is in your packet. The Corps of Engineers 404 permit was approved September 15th, 2020. During the Corps permitting process, they addressed issues to minimize effects on environmental and investigate options for locating the building. Although Labella was not involved in the process, it is their opinion the Corps permit optimizes the site to locate the size of the building pad for this industrial site. Again, they were given this preliminary site plan. Relocating the building site from the ridge will cause additional issues. Shifting the building pad to the east, west, south interferes with additional streams. This would impact additional environmental issues and cause increased cost to mitigation and possible denial of the permit. Relocation of the pad would cause additional costs for excavation and possible rock removal. The existing land contours on this site are steep, sloping away from the ridge. Preparing this large building pad is another location would affect and be costly to the developer to construct an additional access road. That would need to be designed at a maximum of 5% grade. Relocation of the building pad would potentially cause mitigation of the wetlands. The entire site is covered with wetlands. Any relocations of potential would increase that cost to the project. Time required to submit and evaluate revised permit applications would be controlled by the Corps. This could affect the timeline required by the developer. Can another road be built before the road closure? I'll turn to Labella once again. Option 1, industrial developer selecting possible sites typically require the ability to secure internal areas and maintain efficient production flow within the site. Allowing existing road and right-of-way through the site causes issues with security and productivity. The current location of the Country Club Road would cause issues with an increase of the cost of the facility. One possible solution is to abandon a portion of the existing road and permanently divert traffic to other roads within the area. DO typically would evaluate issues such as trip distances from the country club to existing roads within the area to determine new traffic patterns. Review the number of vehicles traveling this portion of Country Club Road each day and determine how many vehicles were affected or are affected. Based on data gathered by the DOT permit that would be issued or denied. The option provides no additional cost to site development. Option 2, relocate Country Club Road outside the perimeter of the site. The option would provide necessary security and maintain maximum productivity within the current footprint of the facility. Relocation of Country Club Road is approximately 4,000 linear foot, an estimated projected cost of $4.6 to $5 million. Because of the terrain, potential rock evaluation, additional environmental mitigation, and other unknown issues, this cost is preliminary and would need to be adjusted. Conclusion. Based on the information provided to Labella, there would be significant cost to increase the site to develop another road. for option 1 would be the best. In addition, time associated with resubmitting permits could cause a negative impact for immediate potential of the development. Two things I'd like to note that Labella did not note. To reroute traffic, you would have to deal with the property owners. You would also have to deal with 2 easements that go through that property for Duke Power, which would be extreme. Closing the road will affect my drive time substantially. I assure you, county staff has put a great amount of time into studying the effects of the road closure will put on travel times. Here are some examples. The portion of Country Club Road was evaluated in 2022 by a DOT study. As you can see, there are certain marks that show where the traffic study clock was, and they are all around Country Club Road. Country Club Road is 1,000 vehicles a day. Community House Road is 700 vehicles a day. Oak Grove Church Road is 200 vehicles a day. Edwin Robertson Road is 1,400 vehicles a day. Woodsdale Road is 850 vehicles a day. And Country Club Road at Chubb Lake Road is 1,700 vehicles a day. DOT traffic studies kick in at 3,000 trips generated. How will emergency management numbers be affected? Well, slideshow. Go back. There we go. Is she okay? As you can see on the map, this is for fire response. Fire response only. The first to scene or the first activated would be CEFO, Volunteer Fire Department. I have Heather and Sean here if you have any questions about fire or EMS. I should have told you that from the beginning. I have another paper to give you, but I can't seem to find it. Next, and this is also on the county website, so I'm not going to take too much of your time. The impacts to fire districts that were approved in 2021. There will be no impact to the fire districts approved in 2021. Now, we can go back to where my slideshow skipped over, the roads. There we go. Okay. So, as I was saying, we did multiple studies to see what would or could be affected. So multiple routes were ran. Person County Animal Services to South Boston, Virginia. If you go via Country Club Road, Chubb Lake Road to Edwin Robertson, Woodsdale to Mount Harmony to Paradise to Cluster Springs, the drive time is 30 minutes. Via Chubb Lake Road to Cavell to Boston Road to Huell Matthews, it's 28 minutes. A difference of 1.2 miles. Person County Animal Services to Hyco Lake via Chubb City Lake Road to Morton Pulliam to Samora Road, drive time 18 minutes, distance 13 miles. Country Club Convenience to Duke Energy Progress Mayo. Country Club Road, Chubb Lake Road to Edwin Robertson to Boston Road, distance of 9.2 miles. Cavell Chubb Lake Road to Boston to Woodsdale to Edwin Robertson, 10.1 miles. Cavell Chubb Lake Road to Boston Road, 13 minutes, 9 miles. Country Club Convenience to Carolina Sunrock Rock Quarry, drive time 9 minutes, using Country Club Road to Edwin Robertson. Cavell Chub Lake Road to Boston Road to Woodsdale Road, 11 minutes. Not but 1.1 miles difference. Cash Store to Bethel Hill Charter School, distance is 11 miles. If you take Chub Lake to Country Club to Edwin Robertson to Shiloh Church to Boston. If you take Morgan Street to Madison Boulevard to Boston Road, it's 14 minutes, closer, 9.4 miles. Country Club convenience to Duke Energy Roxborough plant via Country Club Road, City Lake Road, Edwin Robertson Road. The drive time is 16 minutes. Chub Lake Road to McGee's Mill to Dunaway Road to Roxborough Plant Road, 13 minutes. Chub Lake Road to McGee's Mill to Concord Cepho Road to Samora Road, 14 minutes. Here we go. Person County Animal Services to Bethel Hill. Chub Lake to Country Club is 14 minutes. Chub Lake to Ridge Road to Carver Drive, 16 minutes. Or Chub Lake to Cavell Chub Lake Road, 14 minutes. Intersection of Edwin Robertson Road and Country Club Road to Food Line, 11 minutes if you go Country Club Road to Chub Lake, 12 minutes if you go Country Club Road to Chub Lake, to Main Street to Madison, and if you go via Edwin Robertson Road to Woodsdale to Boston to Main Street to North Madison, it is 13 minutes. And Food Line on North Madison Boulevard to the intersection of Edwin Robertson and Oak Grove Road via Carver Drive, Ridge Road, Chub Lake Road, and Country Club Road to Edwin Robertson, 12 minutes, 8.3 miles. North Madison Boulevard to North Main Street, Boston Road, Woodsdale Road to Edwin Robertson, 15 minutes, 9.4 miles. I would like to note one thing about drive times. There's various ways you could run it, various maps you can do. We did it on various map platforms. We did it on various apps, and these are the ones we came up with. I know a question is about emergency management numbers and fire numbers. I will say one other thing about emergency management numbers. There has been in the CIP request a proposal to put a EMS station at the northern part of the county. EMS knows there's an issue with drive time to the northern part of the county, and there's a need already there for a station, and that's something we're already looking at. So, yes, it will increase ambulance traffic there, depending on where the ambulance is. It could be closer than West Barton or further, or it could be at Hyco Lake or Mayo Lake. I can't guarantee where it's going to be. So we just did a basic calculation on the website from Barton Street. Next question is, what about my business? If Person County were to land a project on the Person County Mega Park, then there would be a huge uptick in business in that area. When a project is announced anywhere, the employment numbers are announced too. People miss out on the construction employment numbers and the ripple effect it has in the county and the businesses in the area. Last year I spoke with a Hollywood representative, and they noted that Mill Creek Store and Grill is the closest restaurant to their facility, which is where a lot of employees go. Look at the recent upgrades to Mill Creek Store. Their parking lot was paved, hugely paved. Not only their parking lot, but excess parking was paved. I can guarantee Hollywood employees and contractors had a huge hand in that. Can you tell us information about the projects and why all the confidentiality? One of the most important aspects of economic development is confidentiality. Business is competitive, and knowledge of your competition's plans makes an uneven playing field. There are times when a leak in the project has been the reason a community lost a project. There's also NDAs usually involved. Sometimes an economic developer doesn't even know the investment footprint or the employees or the company until announcement is made. It is not that I do not want to tell the public what the prospects are. It is I can't, or I may not even know. Trust me, it would be a lot easier to share than having to filter questions that you can't answer. However, I know that I will not allow my actions to hurt this county. There was a great article published on confidentiality and the cost of losing it. John Nels with Duke Energy wrote the article for the Triangle Business Journal, and it was in the February 25th, 2022 issue. He ends the article with the World War II quote, "Loose lips sink ships." Person County has taken some recent hits on tax base. GKN will be closing at the end of the year. Yes, the building will remain. However, the taxes on equipment valued at $37 million will be removed. The taxes on the equipment, which are valued at $37 million, will equate to a loss to the county of $268,678, $18,524 for fire tax. Capital Power yet has not been recent, but it had a huge tax loss revenue for the city of Roxborough and Person County. Friday, I spoke with Brooks Lockhart. He stated he went back and looked at the numbers presented to the council in the spring of 22, and he noted 17.7% decline in sales or volume following the closure of Capital Power in 2021. Rate increases were required to maintain the viability of the systems after the closure of Capital Power. Our water system serves residents, commercial operations, and industrial operations in an area spanning between Timberlake and Mayo. Any substantial increase in water sales and economic boom for existing water customers. Increased sales allow the system to rescind rate increases, and if sizable enough, can even reduce the rates for existing customers, business, and residents. If the road is closed, it will be a challenge for a while, but often change is necessary for progress. Our county has many needs, and one of the main ways to these needs is through financial support. While economic development is not solely about attracting new businesses, it's essential to generate the tax revenue needed for growth. Agriculture is vital to our county, and we must ensure that it thrives. Responsible growth is possible without sacrificing our agricultural heritage. The success of Person County Megapark is thanks to the contributions of many former economic developers, directors, commissioners, and county staff. It is now your responsibility to take the ball over the goal line. Thank you for allowing me to present to you today in the hopes of providing more clarity on the necessity of road closure. I trust that this information will help you and your constituents better comprehend the request. In conclusion, I would like to emphasize that as Person County's Economic Development Director, my lifelong residency in Person County means that I always strive to make decisions that benefit our county, a place that my family and I call home. Questions?
Well, go ahead.
I'll say thank you for Yeoman's job of research and trying to make the public fully aware of challenges, both, pros and cons to the project. And the information laid out here is very good, very understandable, easily accessible on your website, and you've done a good job with that. And it's a two-edged sword, I guess you might say, when it comes to this project, one which this county has worked on now for nearing 10 years. And everybody wants new industry, new business, and sometimes it comes with a cost or pain. I think probably Commissioner Puryear and myself have been the two that have been the most involved with this over the years. During this time period, I've sat in a room with some of the prospects, and you noted one that Lavella had pointed out, but there were others. They saw the problems of a highway going through and dividing that 1,350 contiguous acres that they wanted and needed. So simply put, their desire was not to have a highway dividing their property and building on either side or both sides of that property. So it's hard, it's difficult, but we put a lot into this over the past few years, and this is, to me, I think the best opportunity we've had to do something at that site. But overall, I think what you've done here to provide us and the public with the same information is very, very good, and will certainly assist and guide us in making that decision.
Thank you. I will add the one note that LaBella and I discussed was he reminded me that this is Roxborough, and there's no way that he can tell me about blasting any rock because we're Roxborough. So
Where you go, even in my backyard.
I just thought I would add that. And also apologize, one whole pamphlet I had is, I guess, on my desk, but I think I remember most of it.
Good job.
Brandy,
Yes, sir.
could you give me a total again on how many site visits we've had there? I know it
Since-
was way, like 50 plus 60 maybe,
Since I've
about a year ago.
probably, and more since then, I can't say how many was had before I came in to the department, but I would say that would be a good guess. And that's just site visits. That's not
Right.
projects. The mega park was submitted to over 200 projects in my tenure, and that was 6 months ago.
And none of these potential manufacturers wanted to buy every square inch.
No,
Thank you. That's all I need to hear.
they didn't. They only wanted portions.
Sir?
Thank you.
Randy, I know you read the letters that you've received, and I can just say I have, and I'm sure other commissioners have received phone calls or comments that I won't repeat here the things that were said, but not happy. And I understand it. And the questions I get asked, which you've covered some of it, was the EMS, the concerns with the EMS. Certainly if we can put another station on the other side, north end, that would help. The other thing that, everyone asked was, all right, how many jobs are you talking about? And I can't answer that, but that is important, that people wanna know. When we're sitting here saying we're gonna close the road down, well, how many jobs? And then the alternate routes that you mentioned, and looks like it was minutes and things of that nature.
Some were closer.
And then the other thing, and I just gotta say, these are questions were asked of me, is this an American company or a foreign company moving in? And I'm just saying, those are things that our citizens have concerns about. But I certainly think, if we, I certainly think, and I know you've given us a lot of information, but I think if we had more information that we could share with our citizens about this project, I think would make it a little bit easier, because, when they ask me how many jobs, I don't know, and I know we have confidentiality. When they ask me the name of the company, I don't know. And so, those things is what creates a lot of tension with the people who are going to be affected, and those of us who I've been working on this for 10 years. I was there when Stuart Gilbert started the project. So I've been part of this for 10 years. And I know how many times we thought, oh, we've got somebody. We've got this company that's very interested in our land and our mega site. And then because of whatever reason, this, that, or the other, it doesn't happen. They didn't follow through with it. And this project here has gone the farthest of any project that has been interested in this land. And so I feel pretty good about it. I feel pretty good that this company, if everything falls into place and we check off the boxes, will probably come out here. But again, we have very limited information that we can tell our citizens than what you've discussed and the routes and things of that nature. They're still gonna have their concerns about the, and I'm sure we're gonna hear it on the 24th. That's, just be prepared for those questions, and I'm sure I'll get more between now and then. And we have to be very careful what we say. I know that, because going back through 10 years of this, confidentiality was very important. And these companies have said, if you leak this out, or if this happens, the deal's over, we're done. And I think it's pretty safe to say if we don't close this road, the deal's done. The company's probably not gonna come here. Is that a good, safe thing to say, would you say?
Closing the road is very important to the development of this parcel. I mean, that site plan that's been reviewed and tied to the Army Corps of Engineer permit makes the most sense, for development of this parcel due to the topography and the wetlands.
Right. And then I've also asked, and I've said this before, is, again, I cross my fingers hoping this doesn't happen, but if this deal falls through and we've closed the road, we can always reopen this road back, is that correct?
We could go back through a process with NCDOT, yes, to
Right.
ask for them to reassume maintenance of the road and then reopen it.
Okay. That's all, thank you. Appreciate everything you're doing, and I know you've gone through a lot, and you're probably hearing a lot of questions, comments, just as we are. And Commissioner Powell, Chairman Powell has said it, we're in a tough situation sometimes. We have to make difficult choices, and we have to look at what's the benefit of the county. What is this gonna do for our county and for our citizens? Jobs, economic development, revenue, all that factors in, so
Yeah.
I appreciate it, thank you.
You're welcome. I will like to maybe help you explain a couple things. One is, of course, I would love to tell you how many employees and et cetera, et cetera. And yes, I've gotten plenty of phone calls, and some I definitely cannot repeat what was said. But I am hearing them too. But I will like to add that this is the strictest NDA I've ever been in. If one peep gets out, we will lose this project.
Yep.
I would also like to say, everybody wants to know employment numbers. Yes, that's very important, and this is something that has been ingrained in my brain in every class I've ever been in, and Manager Kathy will probably explain it much better than me, but jobs and investment is always not equal. You always have to look at both pieces of the puzzle. I think that has always been a struggle. I think I would love to say, hey, I know this, I know that. I don't, but I would. But I also would like to explain to the public that you got to look at the whole globe. You got to look at everything from every angle. You can't just look at jobs. You can't just look at investment. You can't just look at road closures. You have to look at it in totality. And that is something that we really tried to do. And Manager Kathy would probably say that a lot better than me. But I will say this, rest assured that Commissioner Powell, the county attorney, and the county manager and I have done our research. Every company that gets this far, we research and we check. And that is something that the county attorney, that's what the county hires him to do. And I think I'll let him speak for himself, but I think he's confident that this is a good choice for Pershing County.
I think so. One of the things too, I've always said about economic development from the commissioner's standpoint is, I think a primary job as commissioners is to build a tax base.
It is.
And that equates to revenue.
It is.
And so that's a responsibility. Now, second in that equation would be careful management of those resources once received. But I've always thought my primary job was to build and increase the tax rate, which keeps that tax rate low. And so we worked extremely hard on this. And of all the prospects that we've had during my tenure, I've never seen anything like this one either.
No.
So, do we honor their NDA or their request, or do we go out in public and talk about something that they're saying that we shouldn't? And if you do, we're going to abandon that project. And I think the answer is pretty simple. It's not that I don't want to tell people, and I will when it's appropriate, and I think at that point in time, the public will understand and be happy with this project going forward, whatever how it shapes up, but again.
And
any
I
other
can say,
comments? Sorry, go ahead, I'm sorry.
last week, 2 weeks ago, I have the perfect example for you. I got a project request. It was a huge investment for the county, huge. The jobs were minimum wage. So $7.95 for 300 jobs. We didn't have what they needed to even submit, but you could have a big investment and have low-paying jobs. So that's what I say, you have to look at the whole, the company as a whole, the project as a whole. And that's something that I have to do straight from the get-go. There's been many a times where I've called the county manager and said, I have a project, but we need to look at it before I submit it. And the county attorney as well. So please let your people that call you know that it has been very carefully researched.
And thank you for responding, because they come and come and come, and the phone is always answered
Yes.
to their call. And the information they need has been submitted, and thank you for doing that and being consistent with it. Any other comments? Mr. Palmer?
I would like to make a little numbers analysis. So we have 39,000 people plus in this county.
Yes, sir.
If we did 1% that disapproved of this, we're doing a disservice to the other 99%. That's all.
Anyone?
You know, part of being in this position for as long as I have, you're not gonna make everyone happy. And, you know, I go back and look at various other projects, you know, you take the landfill expansion, 2007. And you have, you know, you have to make difficult decisions on behalf of the overall county, not just that. You know, I would like to, in the future, look at exploring alternative road with that, but more than likely going through, it would have to go through that site. And you can't go through that site until you get them here, locked in on it. So, you know, but they have to be here to have that opportunity, and I would ask this board to explore that option, to work with the prospect once they're here to move forward with exploring that opportunity. But you know, I fully understand. I think the chairman and the vice chair and Charlie, you know, all have valid points. You know, it's, and Brandy, you're put in a hard position too. I mean, a lot of people are from that area as well, and I just, you know, when we make our decision on it, you know, like I said, you're not gonna make everyone happy, but you have to do your best in what is for the overall benefit of the county.
I totally agree. This is a very hard decision. I mean, and it's a stressful one. The majority of my phone calls are worried about this, you know, the road. How long will it take to come in to fruition? How some of these maps that you've given us is a huge help. And I hope that you'll have those here the 26th of them, when the people come in and they see this. That's the inconvenience factor is, I mean, well, I understand it, but this is something huge for this county, and it's, like Cal said, we have to get them here before we can go to the next step, but looking forward to seeing what everybody has to say. I hope it's not another gas plant.
Commissioner Puryear, just to let you know, I did speak to DOT last week.
Okay.
A little bit about traffic studies, and one of the things they said was it is classified as a secondary road. The traffic count is 250 less than cars per day, less than most other secondary roads in the area. I went on to ask them about the possibility of looking at when the project got here or landed here, or after we decided what the road, etc., and to give us a better picture. And they did say, yes, we can come back to them and we can talk to them. They did express the concern about the cost to the county. It would be to put another road there or the project. The estimates I got from DOT were almost 20 million. The ones I got from Labella were not, but you never know. But until you get in there and do planning and wherever you're going to put it, the issue will always be that land you will probably have to go through. The terrible drop toward Woodsdale Road. The road actually, Country Club Road is the tip top. When you are standing in the middle of that road, you are at the highest grade. But everything down is 100 degrees. And wetlands to the left are substantial, as you can see. And then wetlands to the right are substantial as well. So that would just be something that would have to be looked at, because the Army Corps would have to be involved with wetlands and the fees that would go with wetland delineation too. So that was just what DOT told me, but yes, they will look at that.
Appreciate you bringing out that part about the cost, and going forward, anything's possible, but during the past few weeks, I've talked with everything from the secretary, the Highway Commission, and some board members, the District 5 engineer, to get us to this point. It is an agonizing decision on our part. I think we've been fortunate to get them to understand the need going forward for consideration. Not that it's a done deal, but to have their approval and consideration in this, I think is extremely important to help us make that decision. And I was thinking, as you were talking, going back, and I've been in the room with some of these projects, and the road closure has been a point.
Every
It's been
time.
brought it out. And the number I remember was $15 million. Well, that was several years ago. And we can't do the math enough. That 20 number probably wouldn't be sufficient, even if we did consider doing that in coming time. But happy to pursue that. I mean, not a problem at all, but it would be expensive. Any other thoughts, comments, anybody? All right, no action required. Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you, Brad.
presentation, and see you on the 24th. Give you a breather between now and then. Okay, Chairman's report, routine meetings that I've attended during the time since our last meeting. I did attend Carter Council of Governments Forum titled Cultivate 2024 that was held at Lewisburg College last week. And, wow, I was very impressed by the delegation from Person County that took their time to drive to Lewisburg and be a part of that big event. I didn't do a head count, we had nearly 20, probably.
So,
The biggest of the, I think there are 5 counties in that council, and Person County was very well represented, not only physically, but in the presentations. Some of the slides that were presented during their presentations highlighted Person County, I thought, very well in what we're doing, but it was, overall, the project was focused on rural development in North Carolina, and that certainly fits within our realm. And the event itself, I think it did provide a lot of information regarding economic development in towns and counties, with panelists addressing various topics that are important to us, such as tourism, community assets, town transformations, which was outstanding and good from their presentation, and strategies, which I thought was important for community funding and leadership, with a focus on cooperation between those various agencies within the towns and counties, with like-minded effort to improve and become a more productive city or town. Tourism was very well highlighted and shows the efforts on our tourism department with from several perspectives, and again, the county was highlighted very much with tourism and what's going on there, and represented that department very well. And I would like to thank our own Brandy Lynch for being a part of that. She did an outstanding job of working toward getting that program set up, even to the point of getting and arranging for the keynote speaker. So Brandy, thanks for your efforts there, and all of that works together to foster the thoughts that everything is better in person, and we need to pat ourselves on the back and be proud of Person County and what it's doing in the region. Manager Kathy?
yes, I'd like to highlight a few things that are coming up, most of which have been mentioned tonight, but just want to remind you all, as well as the public, tomorrow we will have a community forum in the auditorium. It begins with resource tables at 5:30. This is highlighting the programs offered by our Department of Social Services. We'll have a welcome at 6 o'clock, followed by an interactive forum. So county staff, as well as the consultants we've been working with, CCR, will be hosting this forum, and it's an opportunity for the public to come, learn more about DSS services, as well as share about their experiences with the programs that are offered by DSS here in Person County. On September 24th, we have called a special meeting, which will be held here in room 215, and that is regarding the proposed road closure of a portion of Country Club Road. So the public is welcome to come and speak during that public hearing, which will begin at 6 p.m. And then you heard the presentation on the proposed UDO, and we will have a public hearing on that at our October 7th regular meeting. So you will be considering the UDO for approval during that meeting after hearing from the public during that section of the meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner Sims.
I have a question on September 24th, where the public meeting will be held up here.
Yes.
Okay. Me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I attended on September 4th the PCC collaboration meeting with PCC. Gordon was with me with that meeting. It was very informative. Also, as he mentioned, I was at the Cartar Cultural Summit, and it was I was really impressed with how many people from Person County came and attended that and supported that. That was in Lewisburg, so it wasn't like it was right in our town, so it was really good. A lot of people traveled, so that was really good. And I would just like to, my next question, or something I'd like to investigate and see is, Ms. Childers brought up a lot of issues that Enbridge has had, and we've always dealt with Dominion Energy, That's who I've met, that's who I've talked with. So at what point does Enbridge take over, and at what point is, I think there's a point in time where we need to meet with Enbridge and we need to talk with them, because I am concerned about as she read through all these issues that they've had, I'm really concerned about their safety record. And I think that we do need to consider that, and we do need to think about the air monitoring and see about that. So I would like to pursue that, and I know she's been here every meeting and has had her concerns about Dominion Energy, but now we're talking about another company that's here, and I just want to get a little bit more information on when they take over, if they're doing the construction and now they're in charge of that project. I think we need to, based on their history right now, I think we need to keep an eye on that company and what they're doing, so, and the safety concerns. That's it.
Commissioner Palmer?
I apologize for missing Patriots' Day ceremony, but I had to go to Albemarle for our granddaughter's birthday party. I apologize for missing the Pat's meeting last week, and I had a rec board meeting that same night. I missed that too. There was something positive I was gonna bring out, and I forgot what it was. Anyway,
If you think about it, we'll go back to it.
I can circle back to it.
Commissioner Perrier?
I did, go ahead, Charlie, you remember?
Charters of Freedom, that Kyle turned to me, it was full of spider webs. John Hill, I addressed him to the subject, and he and Chad Vaughn cleaned them out just like that. They know that's a maintenance issue for them going forward, so, but I wanna try to help them, like put some type of finer mesh screening in there so that they won't have the problem, we won't have the problem in the future. There's something, just what I wanted to address, because we talked about it a month ago.
Yes.
I did, I got it
Thank you.
taken care of.
Thank you for that, thank you. I was able to attend the Patriots' Day ceremony representing the county, and the Veterans Council always does an outstanding job with that event, just like with any other event that they participate in or put on, so, but it was well attended, and thank you for the opportunity.
Sorry, I could not attend the Patriots' Day meeting. I was at a funeral, but like to bring, like Ms. Catherine said, tomorrow the community forum for everything DSS involved. I think that's important for everyone to come out that has questions, and they'll be standing there ready to answer. And also next the 24th, like everyone come in with open mind and just here to listen and here to learn. I think it's important to listen and learn instead of just getting up and speaking so much. But we have a lot to learn about this mega park, and we're all getting ready to get our nose into it. So.
Okay, thank you all. So at this time, we need a motion to go into closed session. Closed session number 1 per General Statute 143-318-11A3 for the purpose to consult with the county attorney in order to preserve attorney-client privilege with the following individuals permitted to attend: County Manager Kathy, Clerk to the Board Solomon, Attorney T.C. Morphus, and Economic Development Director Ms. Lynch. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, none, motion carried. Need a couple of minutes to let IT get set up for us. Green light's on. We are back live and with no business to conduct, take a motion to adjourn the meeting today.
So moved.
Have a motion to adjourn. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, none. Motion carried.
Anything else, Mr. Chairman?
I
Y'all keep
don't
raising your
know
prayers,
anything.
please.